After it's finished, Tottenham Hotspur 3, Leicester City 0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A bitterly disappointing afternoon for Leicester City, Matt Elliott.
Yeah, of course, and a scoreline like that takes you back, doesn't it? You think, oh, it must have been a disastrous afternoon. It was in some, to some degree in terms of the goals conceded, but the performance levels weren't too bad at all. A little bit short when it mattered in the vital areas at both ends of the pitch, which is obviously the crucial areas. But it wasn't a calamity like the second half of Bournemouth, and you mentioned that when we were talking through the game, and it wasn't disastrous in that extent, but the result itself is a big blow. Although, as everyone knew before the game, irrespective of what happens today, it's still in Leicester's hands, hopefully, next Sunday against Man United. Although, obviously, it means that the likelihood is that Leicester are going to have to win that game and possibly win it by, a couple of goals margin, depending on what happens in the subsequent games coming up this week. But listen, it's a blow. It is a blow, of course, for Champions League's aspirations. But everything's not done and dusted yet. Still something to play for.
Absolutely. We've got Ewan Roberts and Steve Walsh joining us as well for all this post-match reaction. Ewan, we'll come to you next via video link. And obviously, as Matt was saying there, things still do go down to the final day and that huge game against Manchester United. We'll talk a lot more about that in just a while. Hopefully, we'll get some reaction as well from Brendan Rodgers from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But just on the game itself, Ewan, Leicester will be so disappointed because, as Matt touched upon there, they didn't actually play badly, really. They were just undone 3 times, really, on the counter-attack early in the game.
Dan, I'm sat here and I'm scratching my head as to how Leicester have lost it. I'm looking at this, and I love a stat. Possession, 71% compared to 29. Shots, 24 compared to 7. Shots on target, they had twice as many as Spurs. They had 3 times as many corners. Yet they've still lost the game from a convincing score, 3-0. Got off to a good start, then conceded that dodgy goal, if you like. Was he offside? Was Kane offside? Was he interfering with the shot? Possibly. But then to concede 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes just before half-time, Kane second on 37, then and his second on 40, from errors from Leicester City when they're in good positions. It is a hard one to take. It really, really is. It is a hard one to take. But plenty of positives, even though at the minute we're hurting, and it doesn't seem that you can take many positives from that scoreline. But when you've been to, and people call Spurs a top 4, top 5 club, and they're not that at the minute, but to go there and dominate for long periods, but as we know, stats can be misleading at times, and the most important one is goals scored, and sadly Leicester didn't manage to quite do that today. And I still maintain, had that Perez shot gone in, a fantastic save by Lloris to make it 1-1, it could have been a different story.
Yeah, Walsh, you in there saying Leicester will be hurting. Are you hurting yourself after that?
I think everyone is. It's normal when things don't go your way. I just hope that everybody doesn't start getting too down about things, and especially social media. It's going to be the usual where everyone's having a go now. So listen. It was a clinical performance from Tottenham. They were very well disciplined, ruthless when it came down to it, and they just had that bit of extra quality there up front that took the game away from us in the end. And barring a few bits of luck, like we said before, it could have been a better scoreline. And surprised to hear the stats. That's unbelievable. But like you say, it just shows you that stats go out the window when you lose 3-0. But we're a little bit hard done by, and it's not a game that we've got to get too downhearted. It's still a chance of Champions League and place, and we've just got we've got one more cup final to go, and unfortunately now it swings a little bit in the favour of Man United and Chelsea, but we'll see on Wednesday night. There's 2 games there. I think Chelsea and Man United play on Wednesday night, so that's going to be interesting. But it goes to the final game. What did we say? It's going to go to the final game, and it has done. And it's been a terrific effort, and it's not over. The journey's not over just yet.
Yeah, 2 big games that Leicester will be looking at, Matt, on Wednesday as well. She was saying there, Man United hosting West Ham, and then obviously Chelsea going to Liverpool. There's now a huge importance has been placed on both of those games from a Leicester point of view. Yeah,
very much so. And you thought that was going to be the case. Every game is vital, isn't it? You can't afford to let your guard slip in any one of them, because ultimately it may be that game that costs you. And you look back over the course of the season and think, oh, what if? Leicester fans will look at the Bournemouth and the Norwich games and say, oh, we could have had it done and dusted, and today would have been semi-irrelevant. But it hasn't been the case. There's still a lot that can happen, within the games that are left. As you say, those 2 games on Wednesday night, don't for 1 minute think there's going to be a walk in the park for either team. And hopefully West Ham can put up with some form of resistance, and their form's been half decent of late, hasn't it? So, we may be well facing a different proposition than we're expecting to come next Sunday, but who knows? Regardless, hopefully Leicester are in with some sort of shout of achieving Champions League football. If it doesn't occur, it doesn't. I wouldn't say by any stretch of the imagination it's been a bad season, has it at all? There's been remarkable progress and good signs for the future, come what may.
Well, that's it. I think that and I know that Leicester fans will be frustrated and upset right now, and rightly so with that result. But from the context being Leicester City now go into the final game at King Power Stadium and hoping, depending on what Manchester United obviously do and the amount of goals they score against West Ham, if they win, they're in Champions League football. And I think any Leicester fan out there, if you were offered that at the beginning of the season, absolutely would have taken it.
Dan, it's hard to break into that top 4. Finances dictate. The quality in your squad dictates. It's not easy. You look at Liverpool and Man City and the vast amount of money that they've spent to finish in the positions that it's not easy. Look, Arsenal have missed out. Spurs are going to miss out. One of Chelsea, Leicester, Man U are going to miss out. Chelsea are not out of this. They're not there at the minute. They've still got 2 very, very tough games to play. They go to Anfield, and I think after Liverpool's recent run, they'll be looking to start winning again and finishing the season on a high, because they've been disappointing since they've returned. And then, I can't see Chelsea going to Anfield and getting anything, if I'm totally honest. And then they've got Wolves at Stamford Bridge, and Wolves are a good side, very, very good side with some great talent at Nuno's disposal, and they're trying to cement that European place. So it's not a foregone conclusion that Chelsea are cut and dry. There's a few twists and turns yet, and I know there's only 1 game left for Leicester, but 2 good cup runs. Disappointed, obviously, in the fashion that we lost to Aston Villa in that second leg in the League Cup. Unlucky against Chelsea in the quarter-final. But overall, it's been a good season. It's been a really, really good season with the football that's been played, with the goals that have been scored. The first half of the season was tremendous. 39 points from the opening 19 games, I think, and probably levels in the second half. I've definitely dipped for one reason or another. But to still be in a chance of Champions League football going into the last game, and frustrated with the 8-point gap or whatever it was between Leicester and Man U before the restart. It is disappointing that is now down to level on points. But I think you have to give United credit with the run that they've put together since the season restarted.
Yeah, well, so you said right at the very top of the show, you were quick to get it in. It was your stat for the day, wasn't it? You thought that 1 point for Leicester could be enough.
Well, it could.
For the top four because of the games that Chelsea have left.
Yeah, listen, we're not going to talk as though we're out of this, because we're not by any means. Like Ewan's just said, Chelsea have got to play Liverpool. I don't fancy them to beat Liverpool or get anything. And Wolves and their manager, they want to finish as high as they can. They always do, the Wolves, and they are a tough team. They're a good team, good quality team, and they're capable of beating Chelsea. I feel, Tottenham today, we've hit a bit of a brick wall in Lloris, in the keeper, made some fantastic saves today, and they're just a well-organised, well-drilled side who have come out on top today, and the game's over, we've lost. Now, like you say, you can look at stats, you can look at everything, but we'll see in the week what happens. Like I say, you just don't know. Chelsea could turn Liverpool over. Worth saying that they're going to get beat, but that's how football is sometimes. You've got to accept that results happen for a reason, and still, we're in it till the very last game of the season. I think it's been a valiant attempt from start to finish. I think it's been a terrific season. Overall, it's not over, and like I say, there's been so many ups and downs and roller coaster ride with Leicester City, isn't there? As we all know, and we've beat so many records, this and that, and 9 goals against Southampton. It's just it's terrific when you look back, really, and the keeper's hanging on till the very, very end. So they're not going to go down without a fight, and. And it's just good to be in a position still to make it to the Champions League. And if not, we've made it into Europe, which is brilliant. The Leicester fans are on a European tour, and they'll be happy with that. They know where we are. We're ahead of what we set out to do this season, as the manager and everybody and all the players have said in their interviews here, Wes and Brendan, saying that, look, they did set the sights on the top 6, and that would have been a huge achievement, and yet we've gone one better than that so far, and it could go even further with a bit of luck on our side.
The two teams, obviously, that Leicester are battling with for that 3rd and 4th spot, they're playing each other right now in the FA Cup, Manchester United and Chelsea. Both of them have made a few changes as well, Matt, which I guess is a hint towards the fact that their games are massive in midweek in the Premier League, that they're in an FA Cup semi-final, yet neither of them really have their fully strongest 11 out.
No, it's a sign of the times, I suppose, isn't it? The importance of the Champions League, isn't it? It's overtaken any cup competitions, hasn't it? In domestic ones, certainly. Bigger game as the FA Cup semi-final is, but I think for these clubs, your regular top 6, if you like, it's even more crucial, isn't it? Because of in terms of finances and their continued support, they're used to being at that level, for the majority of the time at least, and they feel disgruntled, and it's a big blow to them if they're not involved in Champions League football. So they'll be desperate to attain that. But for Leicester to be competing and challenging against the likes of the teams that we're talking about there and others, they've already guaranteed to finish above Tottenham and Arsenal. I mean, there's some achievement in itself.
And the second highest ever Premier League finish for Leicester City as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think the achievement this year has been diluted by the fact that Leicester have won the Premier League before. I think most realistic supporters never expected that to be repeated. Who knows? But Leicester are giving it as good a shot as they can, aren't they, to break their way into the top bracket of English football, and that's no small feat, that's for sure. And the club is developing generally, as is the football team itself, and it's a good place to be, and it's a good club to support. And who knows, there may just be one exciting finale to the season come this time next week. But if there isn't, I think people have got to be mindful that there isn't too much to be despondent about. Although, an element of frustration has crept in, the latter stage of the season. But it's been exciting. It's been roller coaster season for sure. But like we say, it's not done and dusted yet, and you've got to keep your hopes up for next weekend.
Ewan, what do you think that the mood will be like at Beaver Drive this week, heading into that Manchester United game? What kind of things will be talked about from both between the players and then between Brendan Rodgers and the players?
Just they've got to help themselves at times, Dan, and by that I mean making better decisions, making better choices when you're on the ball. Because you cut those mistakes out today against Spurs that they did in that first half, and it's an even game. Nothing to separate both, to be fair. But they'll be there. They'll be I think there'll be a slight element of disappointment that it is going to the last game. I think they would have thought that it would have been all over and they would have cemented their top 4 position before next Sunday. But as we know, football doesn't work like that. You're up in the best league in the world. It's got so many good teams in and around it, all fighting for the same thing. And for Leicester to take it to the last game, even though I don't think been out the top 4 all season, and they won't want to do that on the last game of the season. It's still all to play for. Get the disappointment of today out of the way. One good thing, you look at performances at home since the restart, and take that Brighton one, put that aside, which wasn't great. They've been good, a good solid 3-0 win against Crystal Palace at the King Power, and that solid 2-0 win in the week against Sheffield United. So, on a positive note, Leicester have been strong at home in the restart, and hopefully that will carry on next Sunday.
Hey Dan, I'm just thinking there, the biggest thing for us now is looking at the game plan, what system we play, what personnel we'll have back. This is so important now, what shape we'll play, because at the minute, it's, you could toss a coin for what we're going to do at the minute. There's so
what decisions you get, Walsh? Is he banned again?
Who?
Suspended?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's suspended. He got a straight red, so
he's
he'll
out.
be out for the remaining 3.
Yeah,
games.
that's right. But
that's a massive blow. That's just petulance, I don't want to harp on about something that happened over a week ago. It's just that's just needless, and that's a massive headache for Brendan. And it's forced Brendan's hand to change the system. And I know Brendan's done it at times over the season when he's gone from a flat back 4 to a back 5, but because Soyuncu was stupidly sent off a petulant reaction to something that was nothing to do with nothing. He's been forced to bring Ryan Bennett in. He's been forced to bring Wes Morgan in, and their lack of time on the pitch, their lack of matches, their lack of fitness, even though it didn't show in the first game. And I think in that first game against Sheffield, I think adrenaline kicks in, and adrenaline carries you through that first game. But I think they were just sort of found short today against Spurs, especially in that first half.
Well, one positive that Leicester can take is that Harry Kane doesn't play for Manchester United because he's scored 16 goals in 14 appearances against Leicester in all competitions, more than he has against any other opponent, Matt. And that, I mean, it's some stat, that, isn't it? And yet again today, as he has been against pretty much every club he plays against, he was unplayable.
Yeah, that's gratitude for you, isn't it, as well? It helped assist in his progress as well, didn't he, in his time on loan here, although he didn't look half the player that he's become in that time. But he's just a top quality player, isn't he? He's a better player than he's given credit for, really. I think, not just his goals, his all-round play. He's quicker than you think. He's stronger than you think. He's very intelligent. He can help gel movements together. He picks players out. He puts other players in, as well as scoring goals himself. And left foot, right foot, different types of goals. He's got them all in his repertoire. It just, an elite level striker, as we mentioned before, isn't he? as you say, thankfully he doesn't play for Man United. But there's a fair few other players who ain't bad either that do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we were speaking about, you're saying there about Soyuncu, Ewan, but I think, you know, in fairness, Brendan sort of adopted the back three when Soyuncu was, you know, there because things weren't going particularly well a bit, and he's persevered with it, hasn't he? And I think, obviously, you'd rather have Soyuncu in the team than not, without a doubt, whatever system you play. But, you know, as Walshy mentions there, there's something there's a lot for Brendan to mull over this week in terms of, you know, personnel and system as well, because I don't know, you know, reasonably well that Leicester played today and also against Arsenal, particularly in the second half. I think some of the back three is an issue. You know, it works in some manners, but not in others. And I think, you know, against Arsenal in the first half, they were, you know, sailing close to the wind on a number of occasions, and again today against Tottenham, but they came unstuck on a few occasions because Tottenham produced that quality. But the front three that Man United are likely to put out,
Yeah.
they're going to be a problem as well.
Yeah.
Are you going to go 3 for 3 at times against them? Oh, that's a tough decision, isn't it? And something for the manager to have a look at.
Walshy, how do you think they will shape up against Man United?
I don't know at this moment. I need time to digest, really, from how things have gone over the last few weeks.
You have a think about it.
I do. I'm going to need it. I do. I mean, I personally, I don't know whether you'll go with the three or the three that started. Maybe he might go with the three and bring James Justin in again, because he did play that right hand side of the three at one stage. But I don't really know, because it depends on the fixtures this week, how the results go. But the one thing is, we've got to go and win now, and hopefully Chelsea do get beat by Liverpool, because then it really throws the you know, this game that if we get a point, then, you know, and Chelsea don't get any, then we've made it. We've got to beat Man U, because you've got to feel that they could score a few goals against West Ham in midweek. But Man United are in massive momentum, and they lost a late goal against was it Southampton? In one of the last games, which was disappointing for them. But you know, they've been on fire. They've been flying. They look like they're going to score a lot of goals, and that's why the goal difference has sliced ours to 28. I think it is. We're the same as Man United now. We've got exactly the same goal difference as Man United. You've got to think that they're going to score 2 or 3 goals against West Ham on Wednesday, and they're going to be 3 points above us. So now goal difference, you know, is a problem to us. But apart from Chelsea, so I've always kept that in my mind, that Chelsea could be the one that falls out of this. I'm hoping and praying that, like everybody else is, that is the case, and that we can at least get a point against Man United. But now, unfortunately, it's not really in our hands, I don't think. I think we've just, you know, one hand's just slipped off that Champions League place. But still, you know, at the end of the day, we've achieved more than we set out to get. But listen, and it's still there. It's still there. And you know, you know how Leicester do things, Matty. You know, it's always been this case. Surprise us all. We've said it all along. I'd love to be right on this one. I'd love it. I just love it.
Whilst you're going full Keegan here in the studio, we can take a look though at the league table. Just to see where Leicester do stand after that game, Matt. And whilst you touched upon the goal difference there, it is now level with Manchester United, still in fourth by virtue of scoring more goals. So whether it comes down to that, and that 9-0 could then be so important. But what do you think when you look at that?
That could be vital. I was wondering, by how many goals is it
So
Leicester
have
scored more?
67, Manchester United have scored 63.
63.
Right, I was looking at that. That could be vital. That's the difference between, for instance, Man U win 2-0 on Wednesday, 2 goals ahead. So if Leicester were to beat Man U 1-0, that would be enough, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of goals scored
Yeah.
more. So it's that final line. Who knows? Who knows?
So
how
you
it could
can look
work
at any
out.
permutation now, Matty, but you've got to go and win this game. You've got
Yeah,
to go
of
into
course.
that game. Right, we win it. Chelsea lose their last 2 games, we've done it. As simple as that. Man U, we can beat them on goal, whatever.
Yeah, but could make quite a big difference, though.
You're right, absolutely.
With the amount of goals scored, because
although they might score 2, as you say, only a 1-0 win would be enough.
Exactly, and if Leicester are capable of winning the game by a couple of clear goals, but it's more likely to be, by the 1 goal margin, isn't it? Because things are going to be so tight. And that gives a little bit of extra.
I still think
hope, maybe not the right word, inspiration.
I still think we're looking at Chelsea more than Man United at the moment.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
I would agree with that, Walshy. I would agree with that.
Yeah, but
only because of who they've got to play.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it's not a foregone conclusion. I tell you that Chelsea will get the points that they need to finish in that top 4.
No, at the end of the day, even if it's only a point.
But it still takes Leicester to take care of their own business at the end of the day.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely. I tell you what, one thing that is for certain, it's going to be a long week for Leicester fans, I think. We'll be here this time next week. We'll be after the game, so we'll know exactly where Leicester will have ended, whether it is Champions League or Europa League football. So, Ewan, again, I asked you about how you think they'll approach it, but from a fan point of view and just from someone who follows Leicester, this week will be a really long one. There'll be that big wait till Wednesday to see how both Manchester United and Chelsea get on, and then obviously another big wait until the game on Sunday. Yeah,
I'm sure they'll have... I think they'll be probably in tomorrow and do all their analysis work and speak about things, probably have a couple of days to reflect and a couple of days to rest, and then keep training short and sharp. Work on your both your set pieces forward and against, and just make training enjoyable. Get smiles on players' faces again. Try and take that pressure that no doubt they'll be feeling going into that last game and everything that's on it and everything. It's a whole season into an hour and a half against the informed team in the Premier League since restart. Just hope they can do it. I really, really do, because they deserve to do it, Dan. They've been up there all season, and it'd be an absolute crying shame if Leicester were to fall out of that top 4 on the final day.
Well, thank you very much then to Ewan Roberts for joining us on City on the Sofa this afternoon. Thanks as well, of course, to Matt Elliott and to Steve Walsh. I'm sure you guys will be around next Sunday for that huge game with Manchester United. We'll be on air at 3 o'clock, exactly as we were today. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff next Sunday for that massive game with Manchester United here. So please do join us then. Thank you.